r/AskReddit. What is the most ducked up thing that society accepts as normal? The cost of college textbooks. Duck Pearson. High price books and the cancer that is my math lab. Just watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and I have to say it scares the shit out of me that lobotomies were ever considered normal practice. That there are people whose job it is to influence us and try and change our behavior without us realizing. It's creepy as hell, but it's just accepted. Edit. Holy shit balls. This blew up. And many thanks for the gold. I will use it to try and convince my kids I have street cred. Corruption in politics. It's not just normal, it's expected. People having kids when they can't even take care of themselves. American megachurches. I'm no Christian but I bet Jesus would not be a fan. Civic forfeiture. Got some cash on you when the police stop you? If they suspect, not can prove, that it came from illegal activity, they can take it and the burden of proof is on you to show that it's rightfully yours. Don't have any cash? They can take your car, boat, house, etc. instead. Letting people die to treatable medical conditions because they can't afford it, ruining people's lives, when they do manage to survive, via massive debt from medical treatments. That mental health problems are treated as shameful when physical health problems are treated with empathy and respect. Making an example out of people. Authority figures do this all the time to keep their employees, citizens, students etc. in line. It's a blatant abuse of power to punish someone more severely without warning just to scare people. Everyone accepts it like it's somehow normal but it isn't. People being dongs without their coffee. The crap that gets sold to us as food, especially snacks. There's this American researcher who wants these types of processed foods rebranded as food-like substances. Government spying on its own citizens that aren't even suspected of a crime. Homelessness. Yes, this has become quite an issue lately and society still thinks it is normal. Willful ignorance. The idea that because you're uneducated you don't have to be concerned with facts. Facts are facts a-holes. They don't give a shit about your opinion. Speaking of opinion, the idea that someone's opinion matters and or somehow has an impact on the facts. Doesn't matter if you think the sky's red, purple, polka dotted. The fact that you got 30 other idiots to agree with you just means there's 31 idiots who think the sky's red, purple, polka dotted. It doesn't open up the fact that it's blue under normal circumstances blue but during varying atmospheric conditions can range between blue to shades of red, orange or even green yellow but most certainly never has it been purple polka dotted to debate. Edit. Because the pedants. That we are supposed to look down on people who clean up garbage but look up to people who create garbage. Paying teachers garbage because we don't understand the value of proper education for new generations. The criminal plea system. When you get arrested for a crime you have two options. You can plead guilty and get the appropriate sentence for the crime you committed, or exercise your right to trial, and then if you're found guilty, you get a far worse sentence than if you had pled, and surprisingly more than 95% of defendants plead. For profit prisons. I understand the need to incarcerate criminals, and hopefully rehabilitate them where possible, but a corporation getting paid to make as much money off of housing these people is just insane. Logically this will have to lead to worse living conditions, less guards supervising the inmates, and more civil rights violations as the corporation does what it is intended to do and make as much money while charging the customer, the county, state or federal government, the least amount possible. This is one area that government should be in charge of and not relegate to the lowest bidder. Our horrific child welfare system. We take kids from their parents, which is usually the most prudent choice, then underfund their upbringing and foster care, bouncing them from home to home, from school to school, then boot them into the world at 18 and expect their lives to be just fine. A huge percentage of them end up on the street, in jail, or in mental health facilities, because the state, their legal guardian, has taken abysmal care of them. The US has the absolute worst child welfare record in the developed world and nobody really seems to care. It's wholly and entirely unacceptable. Letting the morons who created the 2008 GFC for their own benefit continue to be in charge of the economy. Sugar in everything. and not being told how truly harmful it is. Corporate welfare. Yep, food stamps are killing the country. Healthcare is communism. But Walmart really needs $1 billion subsidy to produce their products in overseas factories and take jobs away from Americans. Suicide. It's the fastest growing cause of death for 15-25-year-olds, and we're slowly beginning to perhaps accept it as okay, but to see it as normal. A kid committed suicide at my friend's school, and when I offered to talk to them about it, they just said, "No, I'll be fine. This shit happens." The inordinate amount of rape and violence in American prisons. Money in politics. How we deal with mental health. Edit. Row. More downvotes than one would expect. The assumption that men act purely, or mainly, on their sex drive. Celebrity worship. Some people seem to care more about the lives of people we will never meet than the people they live next door to. Letting terminally ill people suffer for months, years. People with mental illness are treated like they have the plague and are ostracized rather than being treated with even a shred of decency like anyone with a physical illness. Edit. Or disability. Double edit. First 1.0k. Wow, I am blown away by how many this has resonated with. Thanks guys. Sexualizing preteen and teenage girls. This happens before they're born in some cases. My wife is due to have a daughter in a few weeks, and as soon as we found out it was girl, I got a tidal wave of comments about how I had to now get a gun to fight off all the men who'd want to have sex with her. Or how you don't have to worry about the one penis. If it had been a boy, now you have to worry about every other penis and a whole list of shit like that. Can my daughter at least draw breath before we talk about someone trying to duck her? Beauty contests. For children. Ugh. Frank's Little Beauties. The way we handle illicit drugs. This will likely get buried, but I'm going to get on my soapbox here. We've created super drugs that feel amazing. Pharmaceutical companies paid a ton of money to push these drugs into the public. Once the backlash hit, they pulled these drugs. These drugs are now made illegally and distributed to those that are addicted, from companies literally paying doctors to overprescribe this drug. Now we have a drug epidemic. What do? Make it illegal to possess. If found with drugs on you, you'll be put in jail for absurd amounts of time. Problem number 2. The prison system. But that's a whole other issue. Rather than rehabilitate these addicts, we deprive them of any chance to interact with society again once they're released. We push them onto the streets and expect them to contribute to society, and then act as though they're scum when they fall back into old habits because it's now all they know and all that they can hope to achieve. Then we mock addicts and treat them as filth instead of human beings. Sure, there's treatment facilities, but the likelihood of getting into one that can actually help if you don't happen to have a Scrooge McDuck pile of cash in your yard is extremely low. Now we start the cycle again by pushing drugs with a similar, lighter effect. Once the backlash hits, we stop prescribing. Too late. These people are addicts now too. If they can't get their fix from their doctor anymore, they'll get it elsewhere. Then we wonder how so many people are dying of fentanyl overdoses from a bad batch of heroin. It's really just disgusting. That in the US an 18-year-old girl can get gangbanged by several men, ejaculated on, fisted, all sorts of dirty, have it filmed and posted online. But she can't go to a bar and have a beer afterwards. Nope. Too young for that. Bank fees. The fact that your financial institution charges you money to have your money is absurd. They make investments with the money you already put into your accounts while paying you minimal interest, all while posting record-breaking billion-dollar profits. Yet they somehow also have the audacity to charge you a fee for the luxury of having you give them your money to play with. You can go to the store and buy enough alcohol to put you into the hospital or possibly kill you, but you have to deal with a drug dealer and organize crime to buy a little weed. In Washington you can acquire your greenery from an authorized dealer at a shop, then cruise up to a coffee stand and get a fancy latte handcrafted by a topless girl. When your pet is sick or in pain, and the vet suggests to put them down as to not let them suffer, it's the humane thing to do. But when that is your grandmother of 70 plus years, who's had a wonderful life, gets terribly sick and is in pain, or just cannot do normal things anymore without help, we do anything we can just to have them live a little bit longer. Even if this drastically decreases their quality of life, why can't we accept dying as a normal process of life, especially when it is of old age and they have lived a long and wonderful life? Being eternally dissatisfied with politics and doing nothing about it. Insurance companies, US especially, can routinely deny claims on technicalities and fine print exceptions even though we've paid our premiums for years. That 12 or 15-year-olds can see horrible violence and death in movies and TV shows, but not genitals or sex, so apparently violence is more appropriate for youngsters than a natural, healthy part of life. Bro, you made it to the end, you're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.